So, okay, have you ever wondered that there are a few buttons like this new button here onto the change request list of records, or if we go to problem application and I open this all request, I get this new button, or I open this, I open this module open, I get this button. I go into a problem record, for example, here, and I see a couple of more buttons coming in here, like follow, update, and delete. Each of these buttons would have certain functions, custom functions associated with it. If we scroll down, we could see a couple of links here: post news, post knowledge, communicate workaround. So these are also actionable links that we can see onto the form. When we scroll down, we see there is an action drop down that you see here onto the page that contains certain actions related to the form or related to the list. If we go back to the list, we have a action drop down on the list as well. See, right? Apart from that, if we go on to, let's say, this list of record, and we do right click here, we have a couple of actions like this: show live feed, assign to me, assign tag, show matching. These are certain actions performed onto these records. So contextually, you will see that there are buttons, there are links, there are related links or action items, right, that appear onto different forms or list of records. So if in your custom application or in the template applications that we have, if you have to add certain functionality to the application, what you can use is known as UI actions. These buttons, these links, these contextual menu items, action items, these are known as UI actions in ServiceNow. Okay, and these UI actions can contain custom code that you write and can work in the context in which you are actually working right now. All right. These UI actions need to be associated to a particular table and will be available for that table only. All right. For example, if I go to problem, I see that I have X number of buttons available here: delete, update, and follow. 3 actions are available here. And along with that, I have 3 related links: communicate, workaround, post knowledge, and post news. So this is the problem form that we are working right now. If I go to incident, I open a record, incident here. Now the buttons that I see is follow, update, create security incident, resolve, and delete. If I scroll down, I'll have a different set of related links. And this is create incident alert. Right? If I scroll down here, we don't have action drop down here, but on the incident list of record, we will see that action drop down, where we could see certain actions specific to this incident record. Like this repair SLA, add to virtual repair SLA is available on this incident. Is it available on problem as well? If I go there, scroll down, this is available here, but along with that we have a couple of more functions that you see here, the actions. All right. So the thing is, when you create UI actions, you tie that UI action to a particular table, and hence you create a UI action button, a link, an action item, and then you display it onto the form. Alright, so this is what we are going to learn. Now, the UI actions, there can be some scripts related to the UI action that will allow you to add functionality to that UI action actually. Right. So we have a scripting section in UI action. When you define that UI action, you will have that scripting section there where you can write your custom script. Now you can also restrict those UI actions to certain users or certain views depending upon your requirement. You might not wish to show your UI action to all users or to all views. So if that is the case, then you would like to restrict that UI action to certain views or certain users or certain roles only. Right? So that you can restrict that. You can also make UI action global so that one UI action is applicable on all tables, all forms that you create. If you want to show that on all tables, then you can create a global UI action as well. Okay. So this is the overview of UI action, which is an actionable component that you would tie to a table and hence a form or an application that will be displayed there. And then you can add custom functionality to it. You can control the visibility of it depending upon your requirement. Okay. You can show it on new records. You can show it on old records. Whatever you want to do, you can control those UI actions specific to that table or form or application. Okay. Theoretically, is it okay to understand now?
Yep.
Okay. So if I open this project's record here, I get to see this submit button. I get to see this create change. Submit is usually available on all forms, right? So it means that there would be a submit action written that comes by default, and that is intrinsic property of ServiceNow, that with all forms you will have submit. Right? Some of the forms you would see cancel as well, and when you save the record you will see delete as well coming in. So this is a new record, but when I go to an existing one, open it, what do you see? You see delete coming in, update coming in, right? So two buttons came. So this was in opening a record context. This is on creating a new record context, right? So depending upon the context you are into, the buttons are changing. Submit has transformed into update, and we are seeing a new button known as delete. Create change is something that I have put here into the UI action section. So this button, this UI action is actually context aware. So we have added this button to particular context only. All right. So let's go and find out how we can create these UI actions. So um, let's go to this projects form. So UI actions, basically you can, again, on the similar lines like we did for other components, you can find your UI actions here within system definition. Okay. You can also go to the specific form, do right click, configure and UI action. Otherwise, you can go to a particular list of record, and then you can do like, you have to click here onto the list header and configure UI actions, right? So two, three ways, or the ultimate way is that if you are into Studio, you can always choose to have this UI action as application file within the Studio.
Rahul, one question there. In Studio,
Mhm.
why global is not showing up?
Check the
It is only
application.
for our custom application.
Check the application scope. It should be there. You see the
Okay.
UI action coming in here in Studio. Okay, so same stuff but in different ways at different locations we can find out. Okay, let's go back. Okay, so now we are going to our create new project. Okay, and uh, let's do one thing. Let's try to put a UI action here and let's name it validate project or something. Okay, and that validate project would actually fire a glide record request onto the projects table and find out if the project name specified here into this text is already available into the table, right? So we'll try to do so. First of all, we'll like to put that button here onto this form and place it on different areas, right? So let's add this UI action. I'll go do configure and UI action. When I go here, I see that one UI action is available here, which is create change. This is one that I have created already onto the form. Let's use this. Let's rename this. I'll have to go into the appropriate application scope to be able to edit this. So if you come here, let's name it as validate project or simply validate. Okay. This is applicable to the projects table, the current table or form that we're working on. Right now, what I have done is I have created a form button only. So when I save this, and I go back, you see this validate, the create project button changes to validate button now, right? When I click it, it does not have any action associated it with right now. It is just refreshing the form and getting away, right? No action available into that. Or do we have? Probably, let me see if we have a certain script into that. Oh, we have certain script written into here. All right, we'll get rid of this script. Okay, so what I have done is I have created a form button here named as validate, saved it. If I go back here and do right click, do I see any option like validate here? I do not see it. So let's bring that validate option here into the contextual menu. All right. So instead, along with this form button, what I'm going to do is going to put this form context menu. Right. So doing so, it will by doing so, what will make sure is we are putting that validate option into our contextual menu here. Now that the action is saved, I'll reload this form. Now I'll do right click and I get this validate option. Right? So anything and everything that I have written into the form UI action script will get executed when I click on this validate button or validate contextual menu item. Right? So we have placed our action into two places now, the top header button and the contextual menu option, right? And the bottom button as well. Let's look for some more places. Let's create a form link as well. When I do form link and go back, so this will create a related link onto the form specific to this form, this project form. If I reload this, can you see this validate button? It now appeared as related links, validate button, validate link here, right? So same UI action, but we are placing it on different areas of the application. Here, 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 right? If I go back to projects table, projects list of record, do I see a validate button here? I do not. Do I see a validate action here? I do not. Do I see a contextual validate option here? No. But what if we want to put that validate here as well? The first one is list banner button. So if I tick this on and save this, so this will appear as a banner button onto the projects list. Let's refresh, and we can now see that this validate button has appeared here onto the projects table. Will it appear for all tables? No, it will only appear for projects because we have tied that to projects table only. We have tied it to the projects table. That is why I can see that on the projects table, but on the resources table, I cannot see that validate button. Okay. Do we have that in UI action? Sorry, in the action dropdown? No, we don't have that here into the action dropdown right now. Let's go back. And that should be list choice. Let me save it. That should be list choice. Now, if I go back and refresh this, let's see if we have a validate option. Yes, we have a validate option here into the list choice. All right. So this list choice is the one that makes the item, the validate item, appear into this dropdown, the list action list dropdown. What if I want to show a link here along with this actions here onto the list? I can pick this list link, save it. Since we are picking this list link, so there are two things you have to see actually. One is form link, another one is list link. Form link will make sure that when you open the form, you get the related link like this. This is form link. But list link is that makes sure that when you are on list of records, you have to see that link. Related link onto the list of record. See this? This is now coming as a related link onto the list of record that we have here. Okay. This list bottom button. If I tick this list bottom button and save this record, go back, I'll still be on the list of records and I'll be able to see a button here. Along with this actions drop down, I'll be able to see that list bottom button. So I'll do refresh list. And here we go. We have this validate button coming in. Okay. And the last one is list context menu. When I do right click here, do I see a validate option here? I do not. But what if I want to put a validate option here into the list contextual menu? So for that, I'll have to use this list contextual menu and I'll have to save it. After saving, when I go back, do refresh, do right click, here we go. We have the validate option coming in, which was not available earlier. Okay. So this is how you are going to place your buttons or links or UI action onto different places into the list of records or onto the forms. Okay. Now We haven't added any action as of now. Let's put one more UI action. Validate. I'm going to put something else onto this UI action. I'm going to put one more UI action as validate one. Just for example, I'm going to put validate one. And I'm going to put form, context, this everywhere. And I'm going to save it. After saving, let's refresh it. So I get new validate one. Okay. But what if I want that this validate one should come before validate? How do you do so? Let's go back and see. We go to this UI action list. Do you see this order field? This will be helpful for you to decide the order of the UI actions. For example, if I do like 50 for validate one and 100 for validate, that should do the magic. That should do the trick actually. Can you see this? Validate is coming ahead now. Validate one. Where is validate? I'll do this. I'll change it to 100 and I'll change this to 200. Because new must be holding 100. So that could be the reason. New validate. That is good. Where is validate? Come on. Okay, something else is happening. When I change the order for validate, it is going invisible. But when I put it as 100, it is coming back. This we will find out. This may be because of some issues related to ordering or something. Let's find that out, what is happening here. Why the other validate button is going away. But one thing you should note here is when I go to this projects list of record, I do UI action. The available UI actions onto the form is new validate and validate one. But when I come here, I only see this validate one and validate. Can you guess why is that? Why I do not see this new UI action onto this form when we list out all the UI actions?
Yep.
Any
That
guesses?
new part is coming from
Yep,
global UI action.
yep. So there is a table in ServiceNow known as global. So that table will be used in many cases where you want to apply one component of ServiceNow onto multiple places. So global is the table that has the highest scope I think available. right? And you can use this global table to do such kind of activity. So instead of using the projects table in this UI action, if I use global table, again for global I'll have to go into the global application. So I'll go here, choose global application and go to, let's say, UI actions. Now I create a new UI action known as old. Right? So along with new, we will see old UI action. And I choose global table and I create just form button and list banner button, not form button, list banner button, and I submit it. So this old UI action will now be available on all list of records that we see now. So if I open this UI actions, I'll see this old. If I open this projects, I'll see this old coming in. If I open resources, that should be there as well. If I open change management application, go to all, it will show me the old button from here as well. Any list of record, any other list of record, which one? If I go to problem, it will appear there as well. Right? Everywhere we will see that UI action coming in if we are applying that UI action onto a global table. Okay. So apart from the table level UI actions that we have created, we can also think of creating a global UI action. And one of the global UI action that you have been using all these days is the new button here, right? To create new records, you have always used this new button, right? So if I go into UI actions and I search onto the global table, the number of UI actions created, you can see this new UI action is available here, right? Let me see if we have just one new or more than one new UI actions. We have so many new UI actions available and we'll have to find out new, all true, many to many. If I go in here, let's say take this example of this new UI action. So let's see the description of it, what it is doing actually. This is a list banner button applicable on the global table. Order for this UI action is 101 and the action name, so this action name is actually specified, and this can be very handy when you have, let's say, when you are creating a UI action on extended tables. If you are creating a UI action on task table and task table is extended by problem change or incident tables. So let's say you created that UI action on task table, but you want to override that UI action onto the problem change or other child tables. So in that case, this action name will be handy for you. You can create action names and play with the orders. So that will help you out in setting the execution order in case of extended tables, execution order of this UI action. This will basically allow you to override the UI action that was written for the parent table, right? And you can have your own child table related UI action there, right? So that will be used here. This one is active UI action, so it will be working onto the global table. This inactive ones will not work actually. Show insert is when you are going to insert a record, you will see this show insert button. Show update is when you open a record, existing record, you will see this UI action new button. Client is when you click this client, it will execute on the browser end as well. So this UI action will be applicable onto the browser end as well when you do this client. Right? Along with the server, you can apply it on the browser end as well. So this is client-side execution. For client-side execution, you will see this client, and when you tick this client, you will see this on-click field coming in onto the form, where within the on-click you can specify the name of a function that you are going to run client-side, and then you can use it. Right? If it is not client, then that on-click will not be available, and you have to write your script, but that script will be applicable server side. You cannot use that on client side.
Rahul, can you show some example on client one and this one override?
We will. I'll create some
Okay,
examples and show that to you. Let's talk about the basics of it first, and then we'll move to that one.
sure.
Okay, so we talked about client, on click. Now we talked about that, these UI actions can be controlled, restricted to certain users or views. If you want to restrict this UI action to certain views or certain users, you can use this condition, the condition field, where in this case you can see that there are several conditions written here using this AND operator. So you are combining more than one conditions, and then you are availing this UI action functionality to the user. Right? So one check that you can see here is current.can create and not rp.get control, some evaluation it is doing, some functions, get list control dot is omit new button. So if this condition is satisfied, then only this UI action will be displayed to the user. Right?
Can we specify the rules there? Like
Yes,
ITIL only, something like that?
yes, you can do so. You can specify roles, and this UI action will be specified and tied to a particular role only.
Okay.
You can also specify UI action visibility by choosing the views actually. So you can go ahead and do edit and choose what view you want to, tie this UI action to, specific to a form. So in this case is a global UI action. So you will have to choose a global view, a view that is applicable to more than one tables. You can go ahead and you can choose that view actually. So you choose that view, you tie that UI action to that view, and this UI action will only be available to that specific view.
So, like yesterday or day before, we have created manager and simple view.
Hmm.
If we have something like form specific UI action,
Hmm.
we can say it has to be visible only in manager view, not in simple view like that.
That's right.
Okay.
Let me delete this old one because it is appearing to so many areas and I might get confused later. So I'm deleting this UI action from the global table. Let's go back and go back to our project form and let's go back to UI actions, and I'm going to delete one of the UI actions, validate one. I don't need it. Now I have only one UI action, validate, and if I go here onto the projects, open this record, I have manager and single view. Let's remove these options from list. I'm keeping it specific to the form only. I don't want to show that on insert, so I'll remove this show insert. I'll keep it for updates only. This validate. Let's go back here in the UI action visibility, do edit. And tie it to manager view. Save it. And if we have not done anything wrong, it should be tied to the manager view. We should be able to see that on the manager view, the validate button. Let's update it. Go back. It looks like by default it will go to all views, so we'll have to stop that as well. Let's see what is the result of it. Click on this. I don't see this validate button here. If I go to view and I do single, let's see if we can see that. No, we don't have that update button, validate button. If I do validate view manager, now I see this. To the manager view, I can see this validate button coming in. But when I change it to view single, I do not see that validate button. Even if I go to default, I don't see that validate button coming in. But when I go to manager, that comes up here. Okay. So this is view customization, UI action customization is specific to a particular view that we have done. So the view association you do there will make sure that your UI action is restricted to a particular view only. Right? And this is going to be very useful. Yes, Farid.
Rahul, how are we going to do, scripting wise to, on and off the buttons for the users through scripting?
Can you explain?
For example, if you are in project form and it says, for example, delete, but I don't want to give delete option to the user. But all other supervisor, manager, and other, head, they have that option, but only the user, they don't have options. So how are we going to do by scripting?
The condition you have to use here, let's say you will put your condition here, something like if g underscore user dot has role and admin. And let's assume that instead of delete, we are talking about validate. So this this validate button will be visible to the user only if the user has this role, admin role. Let's do this. How do we create this scenario? Let's first see if we have any.
Impersonate.
Yeah, we'll try to do so. I'm going to see if some user can see this resource management application. And if that user can see, then we'll try to impersonate and use it. Apple Tutor, this guy is admin, I believe, Apple Tutor. The condition is the place, Farid. You will be using that condition to tie it to. So using scripting, you are going to use the condition field here. Otherwise, the out of the box thing is that you put the required role here. So if I remove this one and let's say I put a role here, report underscore admin, and I save this. Okay. Validate on project should come. It is saying action not authorized. And why is that? Report admin is a role outside this resource management. Is this the reason? Maybe this is the reason. Alright. Now it is saying security constant. Hang on. The reason is that we have impersonated this user. Sorry about that. Okay. Now I can open this one. Project. Project record. Let's see if we were able to save it. UI action. Validate. Scroll down. Let's put this role here. Let's try to save it now. We were able to save it. Now let's go to one user that can use this application. Resource management application. Let me see the rows that I have for this application. User administration. So this role I'm going to give to a user, maybe Apple Tutor. I'll give this role. I don't want this SNC internal right now. I'm going to save this by removing it. Let me see if there are other groups associated with this user. I'm going to remove this group as well from here. I don't want this user to be in cab approval or technology vendor. I'm going to save it now. I think I should have a different group for this resource manager. Let me see if I have a group for this. Nothing. Project. I think I have this project managers. Going to remove this one. I have forgotten what roles we have associated to that user, so don't worry, I just need to remember that. Now I'm going to add the specific role to this user, the one that we have copied. Save it. Let's go to this able tutor. Okay, now I can open this project. Validate is not coming because the view is default. I cannot change the view of this from here. It is going for default view, so we'll have to do view customization for this user first. This user cannot change the view because admin has specified the default view for it.
Sorry, Rahul, the role whatever you have given, what exactly it will do? Can it create all those things that is like only read view or something?
No, that is the create role. Create view as well. So see, create project, I can go ahead and submit with that role. Here, I can open this create project form. I can submit this. So I have this create role. And I can open the record from here. I can update it as well. So create, edit, update. All role has been given onto the projects table. So you can see that. Other tables you do not have access to. This is only specific to the projects table I have specified here. Now we will have to get the view customization done because the view option is not available. Or what I'll do is I'll go back and associate that to the default view. So let's impersonate this user as system administrator. And for example, I'll go ahead and remove that manager view from the UI action. And then we'll go back and try to find out. Validate again. Scroll down. Report admin role is there. Now I'm going to remove this UI action visibility. So I removed this manager view from here and I'm saving it. Okay, and let's save it from here. So this is saved. So if I open this, it will appear in all views now. Manager view, I can see validate. Default view, validate will be there. Single view, validate will be there because we have removed the view check or restriction from there. Okay, now let's go back to able tutor and let's see what that user can do. Can he see the validate UI action or can he not? Remember, we still have that report admin check applicable onto the UI action, right? So this user, able tutor, will be able to see that validate UI action only if and only if that able tutor user has that report admin role associated to it, right? Now, since this able tutor user does not have that report admin association, he'll not be able to see that validate UI action. Now for the sake of this example, let's go back and add this role to this user able tutor, report admin. So we will specify that able tutor can now have the report admin role. We will come back and we'll see if this user can now see the validate button. So I'll go user administration. I'll open able tutor's record. And in the role section, I'm going to add one more role to this user, and that is report underscore admin. I'm going to save this now. Save it again. So now this user becomes a eligible candidate to see that validate UI action, because he has all what is needed to see that UI action. He can access the project form. He has the report admin role. So when he goes back to the form, he should be able to see that validate button. Let's see. There we go. We have the validate button now. Because what it did is we provided the report admin role to this user. Answers your question, Farid?
Yes, Rahul. Thanks so much.
Okay, so now we were able to see that when we create these UI actions, we can associate this UI action to a particular role or a particular view if need be. And according to our association, the users will be able to see those buttons or links or contextual menu options onto the form. Okay?
Rahul, question for you.
Yes, Umar.
Can you go back to project?
Yep.
You know where the action for selected row, that, can you bring that thing?
Action.
Just open any project. Yeah, open any project. You know, at the bottom you see the action for that row, or open incident.
Okay. Here?
No. Just go to any incident which is open. Yeah, here, this one. Drop down. Action on selected rows. No, drop down. Yeah. Drop down. Yeah, click on it. Okay, let's suppose if I want to disable the delete function here, how we do it?
Okay, so this is a delete function. This is already disabled because you have not selected it. Now you select any record from here, you get to see this delete is functional now. Now this delete, delete is applicable on all tables. So
yes,
it says to me that this could be a global UI action that we have created. Right. So I'll go to UI actions here, and I'll try to filter out certain things, like the table is, let's say, global, and name is delete. Let's try to filter out. There will be case issues. Okay, and interesting. Save, insert, delete.
You have selected table name, you have given as delete. Yeah. In your filter, search filter, go to filter.
Oh, I'm sorry. So now we can find it out here. You can see that delete here. So delete is here. So if you do not want this delete functionality, so for now what we can do is, let's go to this global application and make it inactive. Okay.
This is form button.
Oh, this is a form button? No, this is a form button. Yeah, this is going to be a different one. Yes, Umar.
It's going to disable globally, but if you want only on incident form, disable it, particular table.
I think he is asking for override.
Yeah, you are asking for override. So again,
Yeah.
But this is not override. You are disabling it actually. Override, but
Disabling it on
disabling it.
incident table only.
So probably using a script you can disable it. Let's find out that delete first.
Yeah.
And name. Where is that? Name is. I'll put name contains delete. So we have more options. So now I see these two delete options coming in. I don't need that form action. This is false. I think this is the one. List action, it is true. So this is the one, delete. Okay, and this is list choice, which is right. Now you don't want it to do for incident table only. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we'll have to do is we have this current object. Let me see if we can get the current dot. We have a method to get the table name. Where is wiki? Table name. So there is method which you can use to get the table name, the current table name. So probably you will use this current.get table name, and you will do something like if current.get table name equals incident, put your logic something like this, do disable it, something like that. You can check what table it is working on right now. If it is the current table name is incident, do not show this option. Alright, but if it is other tables, then show this option. Let the user delete the records. Make sense? You have to specify now what table you are working on. Now you have to place this code appropriately wherever this delete function is applicable. But I think this is one way that you can use to specify that only for a particular table and not for all. If not, if that is not working, then probably you will use this action name. But in this case, I think that makes sense to do that current.table name and then hide this option from there.
Okay.
Show list config dialog. Get cascade delete table done list. So here we are getting this table name actually, glist.get table name, and you can use this table name check somewhere onto this form. We already have this table name variable here, right? So it will have your table name, right? Like if you are working on incident, this table name variable will contain that table name. And you can put a conditional check. If table name equals incident, do not do it. I think that will work. Make sense, Umar?
Okay, we'll try it. We'll come back. Yeah.
I think that will work. All right, so we'll break here, and next day we'll do UI action scripts. Right, scripts we have not done. We have just seen how to place, control, restrict the behavior of the UI action onto different sections of the forms and applications. On the next class, we'll be doing scripting for that value.